and he lived on for 35 years after Karbala. The question is, what did the Imam do in these 35 years? Did the Imam just sit at home? Did the Imam not talk to anyone? Did the Imam not spread the message of Islam? What was the Imam's goal? We know in the religion of Islam, and especially in the sector of Tashayyur, we believe that there is a proof of Allah, there is a Imam present at all times. From the first Imam all the way to the last Imam, in every time period there is an Imam. There is a valid proof of Allah, there is a evidence of Allah on the earth. Today in our time, the Imam Sahib al-Asri wal Zaman, and in the time of Yazid, in the time of Ibn Ziyad, the Imam was Imam al-Hussain. After Imam al-Hussain was martyred, it was his son, Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam. So we learn all of these things about the Imam, what the Imam faced in Karbala, what the Imam faced in Kufa, what he faced in Sham. But what is not spoken about is what did the Imam do after Karbala. Again, we said the Imam lived for 35 years after Karbala. So he lived for longer than the other people around him. A lot of the companions passed away. A lot of the people around the Imam passed away, but the Imam continued to live for 35 years. So what was the goal of the Imam? What did the Imam practice? What did the Imam preach? What did he do? The first thing that the Imam, after he came back to Medina, he saw that Islam had become dead. Islam had died. After the killing of Imam al-Hussain, after the killing of his companions and his family, Islam had died completely. When I say Islam died, what do I mean by this? I mean that people were not aware of Ahlul Bayt. People would not follow Ahlul Bayt. People would not pray. People would not give charity. They would not fast. They would not do any of the obligations. But the main thing which occurred after Karbala was people were not aware of Ahlul Bayt. People did not follow Ahlul Bayt. So this was one of the goals of the Imam, is to spread the awareness of Ahlul Bayt, spread the teachings of Ahlul Bayt. Imam realized that the people who killed his father, they were still the leaders. They were still alive. The people like Yazid and Ibn Ziyad, they were still alive. It was not only after they died. Yazid died after 5 years. Ibn Ziyad was killed after 5 years. Sinan ibn Anas was killed after 5 years. Shimar bin Dhil, 5. All of these enemies of Imam al-Hussain were killed 5 years after. But straight after it happened, as we said, Islam had died. Islam had become corrupt. First reason was people were not aware of Ahlul Bayt. The Imam knew that those who were in charge of the Islamic world, the Islamic Caliphate, the regime, they were the same people who killed his father. They were the same people like Ibn Ziyad and Yazid bin Muawiyah, the same people, they were still ruling, they were still in charge. Imam, the first thing he decided to do was teach people about Ahlul Bayt. How did Imam alayhi salam, how did he implement the teachings of Ahlul Bayt to the people of his time? We met people of Kufa knew Ahlul Bayt. The people of Sham did not know Ahlul Bayt. The people of Medina, they knew Ahlul Bayt. But those living in Medina, they did not implement, they didn't practice what they came for. They didn't pray, they didn't fast, they didn't do any of these things. So the first way in which the Imam alayhi salam, the first thing he did in spreading the message of Ahlul Bayt and teaching about Ahlul Bayt was to purchase servants or slaves and come to his house. Of course, this was something in the Arab times. This is not something here today in the Western world, where people have slaves and servants in their house. The Imam would go to the market, he would buy servants, slaves, and he would bring them to his house. After the Imam did this, Imam taught them everything about Ahlul Bayt. Imam taught the servants the virtues of Ahlul Bayt, the merits of Rasulullah, the merits of Amir al-Mu'mineen, the merits of Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra and Hassan and Hussain. He taught all of these things to the servants first. Who is Rasulullah? Who is Sayyidah Fatima? Who is Ali ibn Abi Talib? Who are these people? Because again, like I said, Ahlul Bayt had been forgotten. Ahlul Bayt had been degraded. Ahlul Bayt was at the lowest of point. Today, because of the spreading of Islam, the spreading of Tashayyu', the first thing on our minds is Allah and Ahlul Bayt. Then we worry about everything else. But in the Arab times, Ahlul Bayt were not pondered upon. People didn't think about Ahlul Bayt. They thought about themselves. They thought about their leaders. They thought about money. They thought about their wealth. This is what they were thinking about. So the Imam, his first objection was to purchase servants, slaves, bring them to his house, and teach them about Ahlul Bayt. This was his first goal. After the servants of Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, after teaching the servants of the Imam, they got to the level where their knowledge of the Quran was very high. Their knowledge of Ahlul Bayt was very high. They were considered scholars. They were considered of ulama. There's a story that a companion of the Imam, he came to the Imam and he said to him, "Why do you have so many servants in your house? Why do you have so many slaves in your house? 1, 2, 3 slaves would be enough." The Imam would have 5, 6, 7 servants, slaves in his house. What's the reason for all these slaves? The Imam said to his companions, "Don't call them my slaves, they are my students. They are not my slaves. They are my students. They are here to learn about Ahlul Bayt. They are here to learn about Quran. They are here to learn about the essence of Allah. This is what they are here to do. They are not here to do my work. They are not here to do the things which I'm supposed to do, like cleaning, making food. They're not here for that. They are here so I can teach them." So the servants, in the books of history now, after we have our scholars, we have Shaykh Tusi, Shaykh Mufid, all these scholars that we have, they would write their names, but they would not them servants. They would say Ashab of this Imam. Ashab means companion. The Ashab of Imam Sajjad, the Ashab of Imam al-Baqir, the Ashab of Imam al-Sadiq. They would categorize them as companions, not servants. So after teaching them about Ahlul Bayt, the Imam to them, now that you have some understanding, you have understanding of Ahlul Bayt, understanding of the Quran, I want you to go to the streets of Medina, go to the people and teach them about Ahlul Bayt. Go out, teach them about Ahlul Bayt. Teach them about who Rasulullah is. Who was he? What was his goal? Teach them about Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra. Teach them about Amir al-Mu'mineen. Tell them these virtues and these merits that they had. So after gaining the knowledge, they were freed by the Imam. The Imam freed them and he said, "I want you to go teach the people." When the servants of the Imam, when they first started to spread the knowledge of Ahlul Bayt, they were not having the best of times. The people were saying to them, "We don't want to listen to you. Go away. We have things to do. We have money to make. We have families to look after. We have businesses to run. We have trading to do." They said to the servants, we don't care. We don't want to listen. We want you to go." The servants came back to the Imam. They said, "Yabna Rasulillah, we are having difficult time. We are struggling. No one is listening to us." The Imam said to him then, "Who are you going to? Who are you telling me? Which people of Medina are you telling to?" The Imam said, "We are telling the elders." The Imam said, "Don't tell the elders. Go to the youth, the children first. Go to the youth first. The elders not listen to you. Go to the children because they are more of open mind." Are we all together? Are more open to listen. So the Imam said, forget the elders. Don't go to the elders. Don't go to the elder men of Medina. Forget elders. Go to the youth. The elders are not going to listen to you. Go to the children. They are more open to listen to you. They are more open to accept what you're saying. The elders were not going to listen at that time. In the Arab world, the elders, the uncles at the time, they would not listen. They would say, we have family to look after, we have this, we have trading, we have money to make. We're not going to listen. However, the children, they were playing in the streets of Medina, they were running around, playing with their friends. So when it came up to the children, they listened to them. They were more open. And they would accept what the servants are saying. So this was the first goal of the Imam. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali.
Allahumma salli Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum.
Another loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum.
So this was the first Imam. The Imam's goal was to purchase servants, bring them to his house, teach them about Ahlul Bayt. He freed the servants, they went in the streets of Medina and they started to teach the people. They started to teach the youngsters, the youth, not the elders. The elders was for the job of the Imam. The Imam was able to speak to the elders in a way where they would listen. However, the servant's job was to go to the youth, to go to the children. This is goal. The second goal of the Imam was to write something, was to write a book or a manual on how to communicate with Allah. The people's hearts had died. The people's hearts had turned black. Why has their hearts created? Because they had left Ahlul Bayt. They don't pray anymore. They don't do dua to Allah. They forgot these things. So the Imam decided to write a manual, a book, and this book was known as Sahifatu Sajjad. The Psalms of the worshippers. You know what Psalms is? Psalms is a collection of supplications of dua. If you look in the Bible today, you have the Psalms of David. The Psalms of David are the prayers of David. Dawood alayhi salam, he would have certain dua, certain prayers, certain supplications he was asked from Allah. Imam decided to write his own Psalms, his own Sahifatu Sajjadiyah. When the Imam wrote this book, this manual, the Imam decided to publish. He gave the book to the people of Medina. And when the people of Medina saw the dua in this book, they were amazed. They're like, how can somebody who is like us be able to speak to Allah in this way? How is someone able to communicate with Allah in this way? I remember there was a story where before, not this Pope, the one before, there was a journalist. He went to the Vatican, he went to the city, he went to the library of the Pope, and in the library he saw Sahifat al-Sajjad. He saw the book of Dua of Imam al-Sajjad in the Pope's library. The Pope's not a Muslim. The Pope's not a Shia. But he had this Psalms of Sajjad. He had this Dua. And he said to his ambassadors, he had said, I have never seen a book of supplications like Sahifat al-Sajjad. This is the best book of dua that I've seen. So once the Imam wrote this dua, this book called Sahifat al-Sajjadiyah, he wrote 51 dua on all matters. On dua for your parents, dua for your friends, dua for your teachers, dua for your education, dua for your eyes, dua for your hands, dua for your feet. All these dua, the Imam wrote. And 51 of the best of dua. How many of us read from Sahifat al-Sajjad? It is an obligation on us Shia. We claim to follow Ahlul Bayt. We have to read this Sahifat al-Sajjadiyah. Every other day or so, get a dua. They're not very long. Some of the dua are very short. For example, the dua for your friends. These are short, small dua for your friends. And you pray for your friends. There's dua for your parents. Dua for your teachers. So 51 dua, 51 supplications the Imam wrote. And he gave the book to the people of Medina. So this Sahifat al-Sajjadiyah has very high importance. If people who are not even Muslim, the Pope and the Christians, they read Sahifat al-Sajjadiyah. So it is more of an obligation on us to read Sahifat al-Sajjadiyah. We have other books of dua as well. We have Mafal al-Janan, we have Sahifat al-Sajjadiyah, we have Misbah al-Anwar, different books of dua. But the best of them is Sahifat al-Sajjadiyah, written by the Imam himself. This wasn't a book written by his servants or a book written by his friends. It was a book written by the Imam himself. Imam sat down and wrote this with his own hands. Now some people ask, how did the Imams read from a book when they pray? For example, Imam would recite Dua Kumail, Dua Joshan al-Kabir. Right, these dua that we have, did the Imam read from a book like we do today? No, this was the knowledge of the Imam. Because of the knowledge of the Imam was so high, they were able to communicate to Allah without the need of a book. Without saying, let me find this dua, let me find Dua Kumail, let me read it. Because of their high knowledge, they were able to speak to Allah freely. How did they achieve this? Because of their knowledge, because of their wisdom, and because they knew the reality. They knew the reality of a sin. They knew the punishment of a sin. Today we may commit sins. Sometimes we sin, we talk bad about someone. We might say something wrong. We might not pray on time, but we don't think too much of it. Why? Because we don't know the reality of the sin. We don't know the punishment of this sin. However, the Imam knows the reality. He knows the punishment of this sin. And because of this high wisdom, they were able to speak freely with Allah. So this was a second objection. To write a book of dua, and it was by the name of Sahifatu Sajjadiyah. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Nara Takbir, Nara Risalat, Nara Haidri, Plantar Salawat.
This was the second objection. First was to purchase slaves, bring them to the house, teach them about Ahlul Bayt. The second objection was to write Sahifatu Sajjadiyah, the book of dua, the psalms of the worshipper, the dua of the worshipper. Somebody asked Imam Hassan ibn Ali, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. They asked him, what is the difference between the earth and the heaven? What is the distance between the earth and the heavens? The Imam says, the cry of a believer. Now what does it mean? It could mean that the believer is crying literally. What the Imam is trying to express, speaking to Allah in all matters, whatever difficulties you are having in life, you communicate with Allah. That's what Allah says in the Quran. Aduni astajib lakum. Ask me and I will grant you of what you are asking. This is the only time, by the way, Allah says me. Normally in the Quran, Allah says we. We have created the heavens and the earth. We have expanded the universe. We have created in pairs. Allah says we. But this is the only time in the Quran where Allah says me. Ask me, I. Ad'uni astajib lakum. Me, and I will grant of what you are asking. So dua is very significant. Dua holds a very high position in the religion of Islam. Don't take dua for granted. Don't see dua as something which is very light. I'll do dua tomorrow. Only if when I'm in difficulty I'll do dua. Do dua every single day. Because Allah knows what is best for us. We may ask Allah for something, and then the dua that we spoke is not accepted. So we say to ourselves, why is Allah not accepting our prayers? Why is He not accepting our dua? Because Allah knows what is good for us. We may think we know what's good for us. We ask Allah for money, cars, wealth. I want this house, I want this car. I want these types of clothes. But Allah will give us better than this. Because Allah knows what is best for us. So dua is very significant in the religion of Islam. So this was the second objection of the Imam. Writing a Sahifatu Sajjadiyah. The third objection, what was the third goal of the Imam? The third goal of the Imam was to write Risalat al-Huquq. The right of the believers. What are the believers' rights? Today in the Western one, you go to the United Nations, they have the human rights legislation. When you go to, they have it on the wall. It's a big piece of paper and it has human rights. This is legislation. But what is our human rights in Islam? What is our rights to our parents? Our rights of our hands? Our rights of our friends, our teachers? our colleagues, our workers, our friends, teachers, the rights of our hands, the rights of our eyes, the rights of our feet. What are the rights? And again, 51. More than 51 rights have been written by the Imam. So when the Imam mentions these rights, so that the believers, they are aware what is good for the hands and what is bad for the hands. What is good for the eyes and what is bad for the eyes. Looking at, for example, the Quran. Just looking at the Quran is worship, not even reading it. You have it in front of you, it's open. Just looking at it is worship, not even reading it. The right of the eyes. The eye has a right to look at the Quran. The eye has a right to, for example, visit Hussain and to see the graves of the Imam. This is the right of the eye. Are we all together? This is the right of the eyes. The rights of the tongue. What is the right of the tongue? The right of the tongue is to mention, to dhikr of Allah, to repeat Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, to do the tasbih, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Alhamdulillah. This is the right of the tongue. It's not right of the eyes, for example, looking at things which are inappropriate. Inappropriate things. This is not the right of the eye. What are not the right of hands? To do haram activity with the hands. This is not the right of the hands. So when the Imam mentioned the rights of our butts, the rights of our friends, the rights of our parents, the Imam mentioning this so we can treat them correctly. So we treat our parents correctly. So we have respect for our parents, respect for our teachers. When I was in school, for example, when I was in high school, they would say, I don't like this teacher, he's boring. No? I don't like this teacher, this subject is boring. Are we all together? Yeah. This is something people say today, but we have to have the rights of the teachers. How do we respect our teachers? The Imam writes in Reciter. The rights of the believers. The Imam mentions how we respect our teachers. How do we respect our parents? How do we respect our friends? The Imam writes all this down, a step-by-step manual. So these were the 3 objections of the Imam. First objection was to purchase servants and to teach them about Ahlul Bayt. The second one was to Sajjadiyah, the prayers of the believers. How should the people pray to Allah? How should they ask Allah for certain blessings? How should they pray for the believers? How should they pray for their friends? And the third one was the Salat al-Huquq. When these 3 objections of the Imam finished, it was over a 10-15 year period. After 10-15 years, all these 3 objections were done. Imam could see in Medina that people, they wanted to learn more. They wanted to learn more. They were like, who is this man? Who has written Reciter al-Huquq? Who wrote this Sahifatu Sajjadiyah? Who taught you these servants? You guys are just servants. You guys are slaves. Who taught you all of this? And he said, that taught us all of these things is Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam. The people were amazed. The people were astonished that in their community there was a man like this. They were by the name of Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam, Syed al-Sajideen. The people were astonished, amazed. They're like, we want to go to this man, we want to learn. We want to learn from him. So then it is said that people, they came in groups. They came in groups and they sat with the Imam and they said, Ya ibn Rasulillah, teach us everything you know. Everything you know about the religion, about mineral sciences, maths, physics, biology, chemistry, all these things we want to learn from you. And this was the first institution, the first school of Ahlul Bayt started from Imam Sajjad. First school, the first madrasa, institute of learning started from Imam Sajjad. And it carried on to Imam al-Baqir, it carried on to Imam al-Sadiq. It carried on till today. Today we have Hawzat, Basat, schools of Ahlul Bayt, people where they go to learn. This all started from Imam Sajjad. Why did this all start? It's because after the killing of Imam Hussain, everything came down. Islam died, the people's hearts had become black, the hearts had become stone. They were not soft hearts anymore. So it was hard for them to accept. So after 10, 15 years of hard work from the Imam, writing Reciter al-Huquq, purchasing the slaves, teaching them, writing Sahifatul Sajjadiyah, these people decided to go to the Imam and they wanted to learn from him, directly learn from him. So this institute started from Imam Sajjad and carried on to today. So the moral of this lecture, this topic is knowledge. Gaining knowledge on the Ahlul Bayt, gaining knowledge on their lives, how did they live? How were they around the people of Medina? What were they like? How did the people see the Imam? They see him as a regular person. Yes, the son of Rasul was like us. No. The Imam was completely different from the regular people. The regular people would sin. The regular people would miss their prayers. The regular people would not fast. But this is completely different. The Imam. Imam would always pray. Imam would always fast. Imam would always give charity. It is said one of the virtues, before I finish, one of the virtues, it is said that Imam was given the title of Syed al-Sajidin, the master of those who prostrate. Imam Baqir alayhi salam, Allah. Imam al-Baqir narrates that I would see my father, Imam al-Sajjad, he would prostrate, he would do a sajda, sujood, he would prostrate so much that the skin on his forehead would peel off. Has anyone seen someone like that? Has anyone of us seen somebody who prostrates so much their skin starts coming off their forehead? We haven't seen this before. This is not something we see. So it is said that Imam Sajjad alayhi salam would prostrate so much that the skin on his forehead would peel off. And every year, because of the peeling of the skin on his forehead, he would cut it off every single year. He would cut off the skin off his forehead. And the amazing thing of the Imam was asked, Imam, you worship Allah. You pray so much. How is it that you pray so much? Imam gives an amazing answer. The Imam says, the worship that I do, the worship that you see me doing, is not even half of my grandfather Ali ibn Abi Talib. Imam Sajjad was seen as someone who would pray so much, but he said, this is not even half. This worship that I'm doing is not even half of my grandfather Ali ibn Abi Talib. So that's the status of Amir al-Mu'mineen, how high his status was. So Imam Sajjad was given the title of Sayyid al-Sajideen alayhi salam. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. This is how the Imam was viewed in his time. The Imam was viewed as someone, the utmost of knowledge. The one who was viewed as Sayyid al-Sajideen, the master of the ones who prostrate. He was known as somebody who had the best of dua. All of this came, how did this come to the Imam? Because he learned all of these things directly from Rasulullah. All of the knowledge of Rasulullah was inherited to the Imam. I mentioned this in the past majalis. The Imam didn't go to university. Imam didn't go to school. He didn't have professors and teachers. The Imam has inherited this knowledge. He was given this knowledge by Rasulullah. And this is how he was viewed. He was viewed as someone with the utmost of knowledge, utmost of wisdom, the best of those who prostrate. He was known as this Imam. This is how he was known in the time of the people of Medina. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us of those worship. We try and implement the way the Imam would worship, how the Imam would supplicate to Allah, how he would pray, all of the recommended actions he would do. We should ask Allah for this. So we ask Allah to make us of those and to follow the steps of the Imam, to make us of the highest of believers and to gain the knowledge of the Imam. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the motivation to study the lives of the Imams. We as Shia should be thankful to Allah that we have these figures in our life. We have these infallibles that other people, other sectors of Islam, they don't have these people. They don't have people like Imam al-Sajjad, Ali ibn Abi Talib, Imam al-Hussaini. They don't have these people. So we should be blessed and we should thank Allah that we have these figures. So we ask Allah to give us the motivation to study these lives and to implement their practices. Finally, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us of the pious followers of Imam Sahib al-Zaman. And we ask Allah that we witness the Imam, we see the Imam with our eyes, and to join his army and to help the Imam of time against the enemies, the Dawood, against the enemies of Islam. And we ask Allah to hasten the reappearance of Imam Sahib al-Zaman. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وصل اللهم على محمد وآل محمد.